By the time you finish watching this video, someone's mother, father, spouse, or maybe even a dear friend will have suffered a stroke. That's not an exaggeration. It's a statistic that plays out every few minutes across the country. And here's the most painful part. Most of them won't see it coming. Not because they ignored the warning signs, but because they never knew what to look for in the first place. For people over 60, stroke isn't just a medical event. It's a life-altering shift. One moment you're standing, the next you're struggling to speak, to walk, to remember the faces of the people you love. But what if, just what if, a small shift in your daily routine could lower that risk? Not a new drug, not a complicated supplement plan, but something as simple as what you put on your plate. Because studies now show that some of the most powerful tools to protect your brain after 60 aren't found in pharmacies. They're found in your kitchen. So ask yourself this: would you spend the next 10 minutes learning about a handful of everyday foods? If they might help you or someone you love avoid a trip to the ER, then stay right where you are. Because prevention doesn't have to be hard. Sometimes it just has to be real. Every year in the United States, more than 795,000 people suffer a stroke, and nearly 3 out of every 4 of them are over the age of 65. That's not just a number. That's a reality many families wake up to without warning. One day, everything seems fine. The next, someone you love is in a hospital bed, struggling to speak, unable to move one side of their body, maybe even forgetting their own name. For older adults, a stroke isn't just a medical condition. It's a loss of confidence, a loss of freedom, and sometimes it becomes the start of losing independence entirely. But here's something most people don't hear from their doctors. Up to 80% of strokes are preventable. Let that sink in for a moment. 8 out of 10. That means for many of us, the power to protect our brain is already in our hands. And it doesn't start with prescriptions or expensive treatments. It starts with how we care for our body, especially as we age. Because here's the truth. Your diet speaks directly to your arteries, your blood pressure, your memory, and your risk of stroke. Instead of relying solely on pills after the damage is done, what if you could feed your brain the nutrients it needs to stay sharp, clear, and strong? What if the real medicine isn't locked behind a counter, but waiting in your grocery cart? Today, we'll explore 6 everyday foods that science has shown to support blood flow, lower stroke risk, and nourish the aging brain. These aren't exotic ingredients. You won't need a nutrition degree. You'll find them in the produce aisle, the pantry, or maybe already in your kitchen. And if you're someone who wants to enjoy more mornings, more memories, and more control over your future, this video is for you. Let's get started. Let me ask you something. If there were simple, affordable foods right there in your kitchen that could lower your risk of stroke, would you want to know what they are? Because here's the thing. We've been trained to think that health has to be complicated, that it takes pills or trends or special equipment. But sometimes the answer isn't about adding more. It's about returning to what's always worked. The foods that nourish, that restore, that support not just the body, but the brain. And what you'll hear next isn't theory. It's backed by studies. It's already helping families. And it could help you too. So keep watching, because the next 6 minutes might change how you eat and how you age. Sometimes the answer isn't in a pill bottle. It's in your pantry. Beans and lentils. Humble, affordable, often overlooked. But for older adults, they might be one of the most powerful tools to protect your brain. Let me explain. One of the hidden culprits behind stroke is something called homocysteine. It's a natural amino acid in your blood. But when levels get too high, it starts to damage your arteries. It stiffens them, raises inflammation, increases your risk of clots. And for people over 60, that can mean a much higher chance of stroke. So, how do you bring those levels down? The answer is folate. And guess what? Beans and lentils are full of it. In fact, just 1 cup of cooked lentils gives you nearly all the folate you need in a day. And not just that. You also get 15 grams of fiber, which helps lower cholesterol, 18 grams of plant-based protein to support muscles as you age, potassium and magnesium, which naturally balance blood pressure. Compare that to red meat, no fiber, more saturated fat, and often loaded with sodium. Instead of clogging arteries, beans and lentils help clean them. Don't just take my word for it. A review from Frontiers in Nutrition found that higher folate intake from foods like lentils reduced homocysteine levels by up to 25%. And in another study from the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition, people who swapped red meat for legumes just 3 times a week had a 30% lower risk of cardiovascular disease, including stroke. And the best part? You don't have to be a chef. You can add black beans to your salad, make lentil soup with garlic and olive oil, or warm up a bowl of seasoned chickpeas for a fiber-rich lunch. Now, I know what some of you are thinking, but beans upset my stomach. That's okay. Start small. Try half a cup a day, and rinse canned beans thoroughly. That gets rid of some of the compounds that cause gas. Also, if you can't eat beans due to digestive issues or allergies, consider folate-rich alternatives like asparagus, spinach, or avocado. But if you can tolerate them, beans and lentils are one of the cheapest, safest, most effective foods to support brain health and prevent stroke. Because stroke prevention doesn't start in the hospital. It starts at your dinner table. Sometimes, the smallest foods make the biggest difference. Think about berries. Blueberries, strawberries, raspberries. They're sweet, colorful, and easy to enjoy. But did you know they might also be protecting your brain? Let's break it down. Berries are packed with powerful compounds called anthocyanins. These are antioxidants, natural defenders, that reduce inflammation, relax your blood vessels, and improve circulation to the brain. And when it comes to preventing stroke, that matters more than you might think. In a long-term study from Harvard University, researchers followed over 93,000 women for nearly 2 decades. The women who ate berries at least 3 times per week had a 32% lower risk of stroke compared to those who rarely ate them. That's not a small difference. That's life-changing. And this isn't just about women. Another study from the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition found similar benefits for men. Better memory, quicker thinking, even lower blood pressure, just from adding berries to their weekly routine. Why? Because these little fruits support the health of your arteries. They help your body regulate blood sugar, lower oxidative stress, and reduce the buildup of sticky plaque in your blood vessels. Instead of waiting for damage to happen, berries help prevent it. So, how can you use them? You don't need to be fancy. Toss a handful of frozen blueberries into your oatmeal. Add sliced strawberries to plain yogurt. Or just snack on a few raspberries in the afternoon. And here's a helpful tip. Frozen berries are just as healthy as fresh. They're picked at peak ripeness, packed with nutrients, and often cost less. Try to aim for at least half a cup per day, 3 or 4 days a week. And mix the colors when you can. Each berry brings its own set of benefits. Now, one small caution. Skip the canned berries in syrup. The added sugar can cancel out the good stuff. And if you're managing diabetes, always check your glucose after introducing new fruits. But for most seniors, berries are an easy, delicious way to protect the brain, without any pills, powders, or prep time. Because stroke prevention doesn't always come from big changes. Sometimes it comes from a tiny fruit and a little consistency. What if dessert could do more than satisfy a craving? What if it could actually protect your brain? Let's talk about dark chocolate. Yes, chocolate. The real kind. Not candy bars filled with sugar and additives, but dark chocolate with at least 70% cocoa content. Now, you might be thinking, can chocolate really make a difference? According to science, it just might. In a long-term study from Sweden, over 37,000 older adults were tracked for more than a decade. The ones who ate dark chocolate regularly had a 17% lower risk of stroke. Not because chocolate is magic, but because of what's inside it. Dark chocolate is rich in flavonoids, natural plant compounds that help your blood vessels stay flexible and relaxed. These flavonoids support the production of nitric oxide, a molecule that signals your arteries to open up. That means better circulation, lower blood pressure, and less chance of dangerous clots forming. It's not just theory. A study from Harvard Medical School found that older adults who consumed cocoa high in flavonoids had measurable improvements in brain blood flow and memory in just 2 weeks. But chocolate offers more than flavonoids. It also contains magnesium, which helps regulate blood pressure. A touch of theobromine and caffeine provides a mild brain boost without overstimulating the heart. So, how much should you eat? You don't need much. Just 1 or 2 small squares a day, about the size of a tea bag, is enough. It's a treat that fits easily after lunch or dinner. But, like with anything, there are a few things to keep in mind. First, don't overdo it. Even healthy chocolate is still high in calories. Too much can lead to weight gain or blood sugar spikes. Second, be cautious with sugar-free versions. Some use sugar alcohols like maltitol or sorbitol, which can cause bloating or digestive issues, especially in older adults. Third, if you're on blood pressure medications or antidepressants, check with your doctor. Chocolate contains tyramine, which can interact with certain drugs. And if you're allergic or sensitive to cocoa, you can still support brain health with other flavonoid-rich foods like blueberries or green tea. But, for most seniors, when used the right way, dark chocolate isn't a guilty pleasure. It's smart nutrition. Because instead of avoiding sweets altogether, you can swap the processed candy for something that actually supports your circulation and memory. Stroke prevention doesn't always mean restriction. Sometimes it just means choosing wisely and savoring the square that could support your brain. Now, let's talk about something that might already be in your fridge, but doesn't always make it to your plate. Leafy greens, spinach, kale, collards, Swiss chard, arugula. They might not be flashy, but they are powerful. And for adults over 60, they may be one of the most important foods for stroke prevention. Why? Because these greens are packed with nutrients your brain and blood vessels depend on. We're talking folate, vitamin K, potassium, magnesium, and something called dietary nitrates. Let's start with folate. As we covered earlier, folate helps lower homocysteine, a harmful compound that damages arteries and increases the risk of clots. And leafy greens are among the richest natural sources of it. Then there's vitamin K, essential for blood vessel strength and proper clotting. And nitrates? Your body converts them into nitric oxide, which helps relax arteries and improve blood flow to the brain. In a study published in the journal Stroke, over 90,000 women were followed for 14 years. Those who ate more leafy greens had up to a 30% lower risk of ischemic stroke. The most common type caused by blood clots. That's not a small number. That's prevention you can see. And in another clinical trial, seniors who consumed nitrate-rich spinach daily saw measurable improvements in artery function in just 1 week. So, what's the best way to eat them? You don't need to chew on raw kale like a rabbit. Sauté spinach with garlic and olive oil. Blend kale into a smoothie with banana and berries. Toss arugula into your salad or on top of a warm pizza. Aim for at least 1 cooked cup per day, or 2 cups raw. Now, here's an important note. If you're taking blood thinners like warfarin, sudden increases in vitamin K can affect how your medication works. So always talk to your doctor before making big dietary changes. But don't let that scare you away. Instead of skipping greens entirely, just stay consistent and work with your healthcare team to adjust your dose if needed. And if you're someone who doesn't love the taste of bitter greens, start mild. Baby spinach is soft, subtle, and easy to enjoy. You can even stir it into warm soup. It wilts beautifully. Because the truth is, leafy greens aren't just vegetables. They're natural medicine. Instead of hardening arteries, they help keep them soft and open. Instead of causing inflammation, they fight it. So the next time you make a meal, ask yourself, did I feed my brain today? Sometimes, the difference between decline and vitality is just a handful of greens away. Let's move to something a little creamier. A food that feels indulgent but works hard behind the scenes. Avocados. Now, I know not everyone grew up eating avocados. For some, it's a trendy fruit that showed up late in life. But for your arteries, your brain, and your blood pressure, this creamy green gem is worth a second look. You see, avocados are rich in monounsaturated fats, the good fats that lower LDL, bad cholesterol, and raise HDL, good cholesterol. And that's critical because high cholesterol is one of the top contributors to stroke, especially when it leads to plaque building up and blocking blood flow to the brain. In a study published in the Journal of the American Heart Association, adults who ate 1 avocado per day had significantly lower LDL cholesterol and improved artery function. That's not just heart health, that's brain protection. And there's more. Avocados contain more potassium than bananas, which helps regulate blood pressure naturally. They also deliver magnesium, which supports a steady heart rhythm. And don't forget vitamin K and folate, 2 key nutrients for strong, flexible blood vessels and reduced clotting risk. So instead of reaching for butter or mayonnaise, why not try avocado? Spread it on whole grain toast, slice it into your salad, or blend it into a smoothie with berries and Greek yogurt. Now, let's be realistic. Avocados are calorie-dense. Just a quarter to half an avocado per day is plenty for most people. And if you're managing weight or diabetes, portion control is key. But unlike many other creamy foods, avocados offer nutrients your brain truly needs, without the downsides of saturated fat. Think of it this way. Instead of loading up on foods that slow you down, avocados help keep things flowing. Blood, energy, memory, One note of caution. Some people are allergic or sensitive to avocado. If that's you, consider alternatives like olive oil, almonds, or sunflower seeds, also rich in healthy fats. But for most seniors, avocados are a simple way to nourish the body without sacrificing flavor. Because when your arteries are flexible and open, your brain gets the oxygen it needs. And when your brain is well fed, you think clearer, move steadier, and feel more like you. Now, let's talk about one of the most trusted brain-protecting foods, recommended by doctors for years, not just for your heart, but for your mind. Fatty fish, salmon, sardines, mackerel, trout. They may not be everyone's favorite at first, but for stroke prevention, they're a powerhouse. Why? Because they're the best natural source of omega-3 fatty acids. Healthy fats that fight inflammation, improve blood flow, and protect the lining of your blood vessels. Let me ask you this. When was the last time you ate fish? Not fried, but fresh, baked or grilled. If it's been a while, you might be missing out on one of the simplest ways to keep your brain sharp and your risk of stroke low. In a major review published in the journal Stroke, researchers looked at data from over 800,000 people. Those who ate fatty fish at least twice per week had a 13% lower risk of ischemic stroke, the most common type caused by blood clots in the brain. That's the kind of stroke that takes away speech, balance, memory. But omega-3s can help defend against that. How? They lower triglycerides, a type of fat in your blood that contributes to artery plaque. They improve vessel flexibility, making it easier for blood to flow. They reduce abnormal clotting, the key trigger for most strokes. Fatty fish also bring in vitamin D, vitamin B12, and high-quality protein, all critical for memory, nerve health, and muscle strength. And here's the best part. You don't have to eat it every day. Just 2 servings per week is enough. You can bake a piece of salmon with lemon and olive oil. Make a sardine sandwich with whole grain bread. Or try canned mackerel with some steamed veggies. It's fast, easy, and powerful. Now, a few cautions. Avoid large, predatory fish like shark or king mackerel. They tend to have higher levels of mercury. Stick to wild salmon, sardines, or trout. They're safer and lower in toxins. Also, skip the deep fryer. Fried fish, especially when cooked in unhealthy oils, can actually increase stroke risk. So instead of frying, try baking, broiling, or poaching. And if you don't enjoy the fishy taste, try adding fresh herbs. Dill, parsley, lemon zest. It makes a big difference. Because rather than filling your plate with processed meats that inflame and clog, fatty fish feeds your brain, calms your arteries, and protects what matters most. When you nourish your body with the right kind of fat, you give your brain the best chance to stay strong, today and for years to come. So let's take a moment to look back. 6 simple foods: beans and lentils, berries, dark chocolate, leafy greens, avocados, fatty fish. Not expensive, not exotic, just real, everyday choices with the power to protect your brain. You don't have to change everything overnight. You don't have to chase trends or stock your cabinets with pills, because prevention doesn't have to be extreme. It just has to be consistent. Instead of waiting for a warning sign, you can start feeding your body what it's been asking for all along. More blood flow, less inflammation, stronger vessels, sharper memory. Each food you choose sends a message. To your heart, to your brain, to your future. It says, I'm still in charge. So whether you're 60, 70, or 85, there's still time to protect what matters. If this video helped you or made you think differently about how to protect your brain, don't keep it to yourself. Share it with someone you care about, a spouse, a parent, a friend, someone who might not know that simple foods can make such a powerful difference. Because stroke doesn't wait. But now, neither do you. Instead of hoping for good news at your next checkup, you can start building it. One meal, one choice, one small habit at a time. So, go ahead. Pick just one food from today's list. Add it to your plate this week. Because when it comes to your health, the best time to start was yesterday. The second best time is right now.